Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsula, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Wednesday morning once again at my dad's open all-night farm garage. The last two videos I did turned into all-nighters. I think I'm Kubrick. Anyway, there is always something interesting in my dad's garage. What can I show you tonight? I was going to wear this while singing I Gotta Be Me, but I changed my mind. But I will do the finale for you. I've got to be me. I think I have everything I need. I actually happen to have a portable ashtray. This thing must have been sold in the late 1950s, early 1960s. It's kind of interesting. It's a box. It's got a lid on it. At right angles, you have this trough where you can put your cigarette and the ash goes in the box. And I guess you have enough room for about 2 cigarette butts. And then you can close it and put it in your pocket and wait until you pass a trash can. Somebody actually dreamed this up. I happen to have my bronzed baby shoes. I have my pointer with a magnet on it. I wouldn't be the magnetic paperclip picker without it. Hi, George. I happen to have 3D glasses. Yeah. So, we're all set. Let's start off with some Las Vegas shooting truth community news. A lot can happen in a week's time, and there are some things I'd like to cover. By reporting on the Las Vegas shooting truth community, I tell the world what's going on with us. Who is putting out fresh ideas, like Paddock was actually alive on the floor, covered in fake blood and playing possum for the camera? That's probably not the case. But on the other hand, how can we be 100% sure it isn't? It's right out of that old movie FX about Hollywood production people working for the feds, staging fake death scenes to fool the mobsters so witnesses can disappear into witness protection. Oh, and another thing. The movie Show Dogs, which was released in 2018, it began filming on November 28, 2016 at Pinewood Studios, Wales in Great Britain. Shooting took place in Las Vegas, pun not intended. In the movie, there is a shot where you see Mandalay Bay in the background, probably filmed before the Harvest Festival Massacre. Predictive programming, anybody? You've got to understand something about me. I've been giving Hollywood and its masters of illusion the hairy eyeball since 9/11. I have my reasons, and that's all I will say for the time being. Anyway, getting back to the Las Vegas shooting truth community, I want to mention John Cullen. The last couple of videos of his I watched look like he was just recycling old stuff. Flashing lights in the sky, bringing death from above. Still nothing new from him to bolster that assertion. Sadly, because I kept an open mind about him at first, I have to say now it's just him beating the same old drum. If he's a hustler, he's not a very shrewd one. He should have moved on to greener pastures like one other YouTuber I can think of. This person made their crowdsourced money up front while the topic was hot, then moved on. I haven't heard this person talk about the Route 91 Harvest Festival Massacre since I don't know when. But going back to the beginning of my interest in the Las Vegas shooting, I was hungry for any and all kind of perspectives on the event. And watching a lot of John Cullen was how I got my start. However, I eventually realized his channel would just post UFO sightings. Sorry, John. Although later in my presentation, I will talk about an old video of his. I have something to say about it. Next, I want to talk about Mike Turber and his 5x5 News live stream last Thursday. Mike has changed his format. This version of his live stream has him in a dark room, illumination coming from his laptop only. He talked about black hats, white hats, and gray hats. He made the point that black hats aren't necessarily the villains, and white hats aren't necessarily the good guys. He did not mention ass hats, but the less said about them, the better. I do enjoy watching Mike and listening to what he has to say. Mike can be a real card. In fact, he was on such a roll that night, I was having a tough time paying attention to what was being said in the chat box. Like I've said, I love a good live chat. I plan on participating in Mike Turber's Thursday live chats from here on out. If I'm not there, it's for one of three reasons. A flood, I'm getting laid, or I'm getting laid during a flood, which in that case means my mind is elsewhere. There was one classic bit of the type that keeps me coming back for more. Mike held up this big, long, almost cigar-shaped cardboard cutout. Mike asked, "Do you know what this is?" When I saw how the front was shaped, I typed, "Global Hawk?" ? Then Sleep Dep Vegas typed the bullet fragment out of Jesus Campos' leg. I laughed so hard, I almost fell out of my fucking chair. This is why I love live chats. There's a joker in every deck. Then Mike said it's a drone, leaving the impression he'll have more to say about this later. Mike told two stories I was very much interested in hearing. I had heard something about each story before, but up until this point I hadn't heard either complete tale. The first story is about officers Levi Hancock and Sean O'Donnell leaving room 32135 after the breach and after it had been secured, so Hancock could make that phone call to the Boston Reporter, who gave him his marching orders about getting her something. I had known Hancock had made that phone call and what the likely result was. What I didn't know was that O'Donnell had gone out into the hallway with him, and this all comes after O'Donnell's accidental discharge of his firearm. Unbelievable. I read a story one time written by Richard Marchenko, author of Rogue Warrior, the memoir of the founder of the U.S. Navy's top secret counter-terrorist unit SEAL Team 6. The book is a great read. I also have Rogue Warrior 2, Red Cell, a fictionalized account of the Sharkman's adventures by Marchenko and John Wiseman. I have Green Team Rogue Warrior and Task Force Blue Rogue Warrior, also by Marchenko and Wiseman. I'll get around to the last two one of these days. Anyway, back to Marchenko. He recounts the story of kicking a SEAL off his team who blundered during a training exercise. If I remember right, it was about not entering and clearing a room properly. The guy was sloppy, he didn't have his shit together. And Marchenko told him, "You're done here." Demo Dick is not going to take a fuck up out into the field. He took a great deal of pride in bringing his SEALs back home alive every time, which won't happen if somebody is in the habit of making bonehead moves. But when it comes to the LVMPD SWAT members, I guess a fuck-up can stay on the scene after putting the lives of fellow officers at risk. How reassuring. Mike also told a second story, which I've heard him mention in passing, that Sheriff Joe Lombardo had lied to him. I remember thinking, wow, how did that come about? Well, Mike said he was driving around one time and was listening to some radio call-in talk show, and wouldn't you know, the next guest up was Sheriff Joe Lombardo himself. So Mike got out his smartphone and called the show. He got past the screener and was able to ask Lombardo two questions, one pointedly asking the sheriff about Levi Hancock and the reporter and the leaked photos of the room 32135 crime scene. Lombardo's answer was something like, "There's nothing to it." Mike knows better, and so do the rest of us. And at Mike's next live chat, I'll be there and I'll be looking for you. Having a segue is always nice. From the last Mike story, we transition into topic number 2, which is Sheriff Joe Lombardo and his press conference of July 11th, 2019, where he announced the release of the 1 October after action report on the Las Vegas shooting. I watched the whole thing, and what a dispiriting, too much of nothing experience that was. Lombardo looked like a man who was simply happy he still had his job. And watching him spin the LVMPD's investigation of the massacre, I came away feeling that lies grease society skids, not the truth. If too much truth gets out there, the whole rotten system could come crashing down on their heads. A cynical stance to take, I know, and I'd rather not believe it, but after that slick performance by Lombardo, I don't know what else to believe. In a perfect world, we would be watching Las Vegas's top cop leveling with America and the rest of the globe. It all happened on his watch. There were some good things. The cops on the ground did heroic work. The cooperation between the cops in the EMS and the fire department was amazing under incredibly dangerous ad hoc conditions. I'll give Lombardo points for that. But he's also a politician, and he can cross that fuzzy boundary between law enforcement and politician with the greatest of ease. If he's going to leave us the impression that the investigation into who did the shooting on October 1st, 2017 was a good investigation, a thorough investigation, a lot of us within the sound of my voice are going to roll their eyes. Lombardo is an elected official, not a police chief hired by a public safety director. If he mounted a defense against criticism, he might say, I answer to the voters at the ballot box. Yes, that would be true, but people in the Las Vegas shooting truth community have some idea how the real world works. Joe Lombardo answers to the people who dump all that money into his re-election coffers, which, for the most part, would be the resort industry of Las Vegas. Like we see with Sean O'Donnell walking off with Levi Hancock to watch him make that call, it's all one big good old boy network. Las Vegas style. If you don't think that is a formidable opponent, well, it is. Anyway, the last topic I'm going to cover tonight is a John Cullen video. Here's what happened. It was last Saturday morning, and I was starting the day watching Sticks and Hex and Hammer 666, like I always do. After I was done with him, I looked over into my queue and I see this John Cullen video titled Laura Loomer, the Honeypot, and the 3 Women Sleeping with Paddock. Recommended for me. I had watched the video once before a while back, and I remember kind of enjoying it for how crazy it was. I do believe it is John's best video. And because of it, I even speculated in one of my earlier Vegas videos on the possibility of 3 mercs in room 32135 setting up their operation while keeping some hookers stashed in room 32134 for a fun time when taking a break. After I began learning more, this scenario became something I stopped taking seriously. But that's beside the point. John's video is nuts in an entertaining way. It's only 11 minutes 36 seconds long, and I decided to watch it again. But this time, at 8 minutes 37 seconds in the video, I saw something I had not flashed on the first time around, because I didn't know as much as I do now. And I said, hold the phone. Laura Loomer, the Honeypot, and the 3 Women Sleeping with Paddock is a title that makes Steve sound like a real stud, doesn't it? That may come as a surprise to Mary Lou Danley, since in her Fit Report interview, she made it pretty clear that Steven's dodgy health had left him too pooped after strumming the bed strings with her to do anything but sleep it off. They had stopped being intimate. Still, John's video is about sex. or about women used as bait in an intelligence operation, or I don't know what the hell he's really getting at, which is what makes the video unique. For once, Cullen takes up a subject that is genuinely intriguing. And he has a video and audio recording of information relayed to the LVMPD Communications Center, where the dispatcher is making note of 3 women who were somehow checked into room 32134. This story ran as a Doug Papa article in the Baltimore Post-Examiner on May 27, 2018, titled, "Stephen Paddock's Hotel Records Show 3 Women Registered in His Room." I'd say the story is not a trivial matter and worthy of some scrutiny. Reading computer-aided dispatch records from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's Communications Center, there is no doubt that Stephen Paddock had 3 females registered to his room. There is also no doubt that Sheriff Joe Lombardo originally told reporters that Paddock's check-in date was September 28, 2017, a date that was revised to September 25th during a press conference briefing by Lombardo on October 9th. Quoting Doug Papa here, the police also told the media that Mary Lou Danley's name was also on the registration. However, they never stated that there were 3 females registered to Paddock's room. All the names of the women in the computer-aided dispatch are redacted. In a departure from trying to convince us Saudi Air National Guardsmen in helicopters flying over Las Vegas had some reason to fire on a country music concert of 22,000 attendees, John Cullen switches gears and takes us into territory where beautiful female intelligence agents are up to no good. The video begins with a June 1st, 2018 appearance by the lovely and talented Laura Loomer on InfoWars with Alex Jones. Actually, clips from 2 separate appearances edited together. Laura is her usual half-baked alarmist self. She tells us, "The LVMPD are hiding who these women are, and I think that we're going to learn a lot more about what happened in Vegas once we learn the identities of these women." John throws up text that says, "We agree with Laura." What do you mean by we, Kimosabi? When it comes to Laura Loomer, I can't for the life of me figure out how she gets people to turn off their crap detectors. Note to self, one more mystery to solve. Next, John references 10:05 here, 10. 10 gets a mention because he was the first to notice the bed in room 32134 had been slept in. What a Papa Bear he is! John next shows us a picture of a woman's gold jacket on a coffee table. Finally, John tells us our conclusion was that Paddock was with at least one woman and had been honeypotted. Oh, you meant the oldest trick in the book, John? I know it well. Why is it that young people nowadays got to change the names of everything to something else? Okay, I'm going to jump ahead into the video at about 8 minutes 37 seconds, where we are all well into the video and the audio recording of information relayed to the LVMPD Communications Center. That's when I heard and saw text on the screen that absolutely floored me. First name Stephen with a PH. Okay, class, where have we seen this before? Anybody? I saw something similar to this statement in the Fit Report. Does anybody remember who said it? Anybody? Okay. Daniel Cruz, valet attendant, pages 50 and 51 of the Fit Report. On September 26th, Cruz was working in valet. Paddock arrived in a van, and Cruz greeted him. Cries stated he knows Paddock because he is a regular at the Mandalay Bay and always tells the valet attendants his name is Stephen with a PH Paddock. Crais was not 100% sure if Paddock was by himself. Crais described Paddock as a friendly guy who usually tipped $5. Crais goes on to say he was working on Friday, September 29th, and saw Paddock in the valet area standing next to his vehicle with a short Asian female. Crais believed Paddock was drunk, and the Asian female was happy and nice. Crais asked Paddock where he was coming from, and he replied, "That concert from across the street." Paddock gave Crais $5, and Crais left. Crais stated he was 100% sure it was Paddock, and he was 100% sure it was Friday because he took Saturday, September 30th off. Crais could not remember what Paddock or the Asian female were wearing, and nothing stuck out from his interaction with Paddock. Aficionados of the Fit Report will also remember that Crais was asked about baggage handler Phil Torres. Crais stated he knew him, but had not seen Torres on September 29th. Torres, on the other hand, told police investigators about his interaction with Paddock on the 29th, which is at variance with Crais's recollection. Later, Crais would say his memory of seeing Paddock in the valet parking on September 29th could have been a case of mistake in identity. And his certainty that the encounter happened was now more like 50%. No surveillance footage exists to back up the stories of either Crais or Torres naturally. John's video after the 8:37 mark is complete garbage, although it's highly amusing garbage. Some things John tosses out there. Were these the women warning concertgoers about 45 minutes before Jason Aldean took the stage that you're all gonna die? John also asks, is that who we hear groaning after Officer Brett Brosnahan goes to the window, an idea nicely discredited by Concerned Citizen in his 2 videos on the subject. I'll leave links to those videos below. John, in his patently irresponsible style, even goes so far as to plant this idea into the heads of the impressionable. Did Officer O'Donnell shoot one of these women? I can almost hear you laughing from here. That's the problem with John. If, like him, you're going to start with the premise that Stephen Paddock didn't shoot anybody, and that no shots were fired from rooms 32-135 and 32-134, it means you don't have to bother reading the Fit Report, do you? I can picture Mr. Rogers, a Pittsburgh hometown hero, asking, "Can you say lazy?" So I found Stephen with a PH in a Cullen video and in the Fit Report. 2 different sources. Just a coincidence? I don't know, but I hate coincidences because I don't particularly believe in them. This is like so many of the details that come out of the Las Vegas shooting that leave me asking, does this have any meaning? I see myself as a context guy. Now, I have a lot of respect for the evidence-based people because that's the foundation for building a solid case. Conversely, the problem I see with the narrative-based folks is you could take a lot of details and slap a 3-act structure on it and could come up with a great sounding story like John in his Honeypot video and still end up with bullshit. With a narrative approach, we can fool ourselves because real life is a lot messier than a 1st act, 2nd act, and 3rd act. That's why I choose to focus on the context of Las Vegas, the world of Las Vegas. And since it's an internationally renowned playground for the well-heeled, that brings in the entire world. With a focus on context, I ask myself, what is believable? What is likely? To illustrate what I mean, let's revisit the story of Jesus Campos one more time. Context in this case means this was the world Jesus already worked in, even before the Route 91 shooting. Did Jesus have foreknowledge of the events of October 1st, and is there a circumstantial case to be made for that? That depends on what you mean by foreknowledge. I can't say what Jesus knew since I don't know what's in his head. But here's what I find interesting about him. He does know what happened at 9:59, even if it was nothing at all. Jesus, as a security officer, might be apprised of some undercover work going on in Mandalay Bay and be expected to function as support. If that's the case, he might have foreknowledge of some government intelligence or law enforcement operation. He might have been given code phrases. Shot in the leg with a BB or pellet gun is such a bizarre thing to say under the circumstance Jesus found himself in that to me it only makes sense as some prearranged code. Like, Jesus, if something plays out in front of you, say this. The code could mean, we've got a serious breakdown here. It goes out over the radio so the right people hear it. I'd be surprised if Jesus never sat in on any security staff meetings, a type of foreknowledge. Being in security means having proprietary information that Mandalay Bay wouldn't want him sharing with the public. And I think we can agree Jesus knows how to stick to the script. It's part of the job description. My explanation seems to be getting a little fine-grained here, so let me run this by you. Jesus knew something was happening before 9:59, and that something turned into a huge disaster. Now he's playing the security officer role expected of him, as in protect MGM and Mandalay Bay interests. If the security staff meetings part of what I just said about Jesus Campos isn't the case, I'd be surprised. Richard Feynman, the greatest physicist of the latter half of the 20th century, once said, "I don't know what I believe until I write it down." Sunday night, I wrote this down on my graph paper tablet. I'm looking for hints of tradecraft. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing since reading books on the JFK assassination starting at the age of 11. I've been doing it with the Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, the San Bernardino shooting. Boy, do I have a story to tell you about the San Bernardino shooting. I'll leave that for another video. I don't know if I'll ever find any definite hints of intelligence agency tradecraft among all the pieces of the Las Vegas shooting puzzle. I may end up like Ponce de Leon, trying to locate the Fountain of Youth and ending up with Bupkis. Of course, if the spooks were up to something that resulted in the Route 91 Harvest Festival massacre, they are trained not to let you catch them at it. But they can't hide everything. On page 40 of the FIT report, we read that Campos advised the security dispatcher he had been shot in the leg with a BB or pellet gun and was injured. So first, Jesus says BB, then also adds pellet gun. He must have heard the rapid-fire sound of the bump stock AR-15 firing at him. Yet he says BB or pellet gun as if he couldn't think of a more accurate description. Can this be explained as Campos reacting from the shock of being hit with a bullet fragment? Maybe, but there is still something wrong with Jesus' reaction to the situation, something off kilter. Would all this make more sense if BB and pellet gun were code names for Mary Lou and Stephen? I'll leave you to think about that until my next video. Oh, and the song. It'll Be Me by Jerry Lee Lewis. Have a good one. If you hear somebody knocking on your door, if you see something crawling across the floor, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. If you see a head peeping out of crawdad hole, if you see somebody climbing up a telephone pole, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. Gonna look on the mountains and the deep blue sea. I'll search all the forest, look at every tree. If you feel something heavy on your fishing hook, if you see a funny face in your comic book, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. Well, if you hear a voice calling out in the night, if you see somebody on the lamppost bright, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. If you see somebody looking in all the cars, if you see a rocket ship on its way to Mars, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. Gonna look in the city where the lights are blue. Gonna search the countryside, all the haystacks too. Hey, if you see a new face on the totem pole, if you find a lump in your sugar bowl, baby, it'll be me. And I'll be looking for you. Later.